Hello, I'm Sister Rosemary Greco, the director of Wisdom House Retreat Center in Litchfield, Connecticut. We're here this weekend for the Casa Grande Interfaith Institute, and the theme this weekend is Double Belonging at Home in Two Traditions. This seems to be an experience that is growing and becoming more common among people, and we'd like to take some time to explore it. Speaking with us this weekend are Neil Sotin Thies, who is speaking from the Jewish Buddhist tradition, Ann Holmes Redding from the Christian Muslim tradition, and Robert Kaku Gunn from the Christian Buddhist tradition. And so my question to each of these is, how does your belonging to two religious traditions enhance your spiritual life?
For me, the initial impulse to enter into a second religion, I started with a fairly rigorous Jewish upbringing. But back in the 1970s, when I was really coming of age spiritually, there wasn't a lot of access to contemplative practice within the Jewish tradition. There were little pockets here or there, but unless you were located in Orthodoxy, it wasn't available. And that's what was calling to me. And I was able to find in the Zen Buddhist tradition a contemplative practice that was rigorous, authentic, but seemed to be sort of on the agnostic side. So it seemed like I could bring them together. So initially it was all about enriching my Jewish practice by having a contemplative practice, I thought, as another way to deepen my relationship to God. Ultimately, as the years have gone by, it's really turned into something more dynamic where there's a push and pull between them, areas where they're the same, areas where they're different, leads me to be more rigorous in investigating both of them and seeing them through different lenses than the traditional ones that I'm hearing about if I'm in a synagogue or if I'm in a zendo. So I think it's opened up creative ways for me to explore both paths as well.
I like to think of myself as having been embraced by Islam rather than taking it on by my own initiative, because frankly, my story is an odd one. I was minding my business as an Episcopal priest and doing interfaith work as part of my job as an Episcopal priest, and began to learn about Islam, but it wasn't until I had an experience where I knew I needed to become a person who was defined by surrender, whose posture in life, whose basic posture in life was surrender to God. And it's very curious and mysterious to me that although I could do that as a Christian fully, there's nothing missing in Christianity as far as I'm concerned. My personal calling, my personal experience was that I needed to become a Muslim because that's the definition of the word. And since then, what's happened is this incredible, I call it this kind of inter-spiritual light show between these two traditions that flashes off, sends up these sparks, that light up the two traditions in relationship to each other and keep me thinking, keep me digging more deeply to find the common ground and the unity, and also to become a person who understands that there are no people who are not my people.
I began my religious life in a fundamentalist Protestant Christian church as a Methodist in Southern Illinois. And before I was 10 years old, I had a conversion experience, which was a highly emotional experience in which I felt I was in the very presence of God and believed that Jesus was calling me to ministry. And that was so powerful that it has remained, in a way, the touchstone of spiritual truth throughout my life. And everything kind of has to measure up to what I experienced then and what I learned then. So as life went on and I grew older and went to other places, the literal interpretation of the Bible no longer sufficed for me to feel that it was intellectually honest. And so I began to look at other approaches to Christianity and wound up going to a seminary that was quite liberal. And so it required a very strong readjustment of my faith perspective within Christianity. Fast forward 20 years or so, and I reached midlife and had a somewhat typical crisis, except that the crisis for me, one of the manifestations was that Christianity stopped working for me. Nothing that I had grown up with and learned, including the more progressive perspective, was able to feed my soul at a time of my darkest hour. And it was at that point that I began to try my own version of meditation. And I wanted to know who I was apart from all my conditioning, including my religious conditioning. And one day I got a postcard in the mail from a place called Zen Mountain Monastery. And I had read some of the books on Zen and thought it was, very interesting. But I immediately went because they were going to teach about meditation, and I was trying my own version. And it was, you're trying to be quiet with yourself and quiet all these voices, but actually when you sit with yourself without any training, all you get is more voices, and it's quite chaotic and can be unsettling. So I went to this place called Zen Mountain Monastery in upstate New York, and I immediately felt I was home spiritually. I looked at the wall on which were posted what are called the 10 ox herding pictures, which are a way of depicting the stages of spiritual growth. And I just broke into tears. And I felt that I encountered at Zen Mountain Monastery a new place where the God that I had met in my childhood had come to me again, and I had found a new home.
Okay.
Well, we're very grateful to Neil, Ann, and Robert for helping us this weekend to do our exploration in religions for the future. Thanks for being with us, and you're always welcome to come to Wisdom House.